Hello, welcome back to Investment Foundations. I'm Julian Vargas, CFA and your investment expert. Till now, you are familiar with all the statistics that we have discussed so far. So expected value, variance, and correlation. So we are going to use those three main statistics and combine them to analyze our portfolio. So let's start. In order to analyze exactly how we are going to calculate the value of our portfolio, we are going to start with an example. Well, in this example, we will have two financial assets. So we will have, let's say, 10,000 euros to invest, and we will put 3,000 of that in an investment that will have a return of 3%. The rest, 7,000, we will put them to rent an investment of 10%. With this information, we can calculate our first basic statistics, namely the expected return. Here, we just simply calculate the weight of each investment. We are going to put this weight of each investment in this column. This will be important for our further calculations. So we will have, for our first investment, 30% corresponding to 3,000 divided 10,000, that is our whole wealth. And for the second investment, we will have 7,000 divided, again, the 10,000 euros, so we will get 70%. So we see that we have a distribution of 30% in asset A and 70% in asset B. Now that we have the weights, it's really straightforward to calculate the expected value of the whole portfolio. We will just simply multiply the expected return of each investment by the weight in the total portfolio. In this case, we will have that the investment number A, we have 30% there, multiplied by its expected return, which will be 3%. After that, we will sum the 70% of the other investment multiplied by its expected return, that is going to be 10%. And here we will calculate the expected return. After calculating our expected return, we will now move to the realm of risk. So let's first recap. What do we need to measure risk? In this case, we are going to measure risk in terms of variance or standard deviation. To quantify the risk, we are going to need for each of our investments how high the risk is. We are going to use this in the first part as standard deviation. So let's assume that our investment number A has a standard deviation of 2%, and our second investment has a standard deviation of 12%. Here is much easier, if you remember from previous lessons. Instead of having calculation with the standard deviation, we are going to use the variance. But the variance here is just the square of the standard deviation. So let's put these values also here. Finally, if you remember from previous lessons, we need another thing here to calculate the relationship of these two investments, and namely the correlation. That's right. So we are going to assume here a correlation of 0.4%. So now we have all the information that we need to calculate the risk of our portfolio. Let's write down the formula for calculating the variance of the whole portfolio. That would be, first, we are going to sum up the variances, but multiplying them by the square of the weights. That would be weight of the investment number A square multiplied by the variance of this investment, plus weight of the investment number 2 or number B squared multiplied by its respective variance. After that, we will add 2 times the weight A multiplied by weight B multiplied by the standard deviation of investment A multiplied by standard deviation of investment B, and that again by our correlation. I know that it can be a little bit too long, this formula, but this is because we are considering the correlation between two investments here, and that's really a fundamental part of calculating or estimating our portfolio. We will see in the following lesson how we can use Excel to calculate the risk of our portfolio, especially if we have more than two investments. So you can tell that this formula can get really long. For now, let's estimate, you can do it at home if you want, let's estimate the risk of our total portfolio here and move on. Important here is to know that within this formula, we just not sum the variances, but we are applying here the weight of the investments in our portfolio to the square, because every weight is less than 1, so in this case we have 0.3 and 0.7. When we square those terms, we're going to get more or less a reduction of the variance. Of course, after that we are going to apply the correlation, but here it's really important to know that the whole variance is going to be a little bit lower than if we just sum up the variances. This is the effect of correlation. In the next lesson, we will see some examples also using negative correlation. Or you can put it here in this same example. What would happen if this correlation, instead of being 0.4, would be like negative 0.4? You will see that the whole variance will be lower. So let's recap here. Every time that you want to calculate your portfolio and to assess it, you have to first need to know the expected return of each investment, and then with the weights of each investment you can calculate the total expected return. But don't forget also to calculate the risk of your portfolio, and for that you will need the variances of each of the investments plus the correlation between them. Thanks for watching a lot. This is a really important lesson for all of you to take into account. Please always calculate the risk, because we are going to move in the following lessons in how to calculate diversification and how to know that actually the portfolio that we have is diversified, not just staying there in the word, yeah, it has to be diversified, but we are going to quantify it. So please share this video if you find this useful, give it a like, and see you in the next lesson. Thanks.